I'm Robert Williams from MetalRules.com, and joining me today at this year's Fun Fest in Austin, Texas is heavy metal's resident funny man, Brian Posehn. How you doing today, Brian?
I'm alright. All things considered, yeah.
So first things first, a few years back you released the album Live In Nerd Rage that featured you singing lead vocals in a heavy metal band made up with members of Anthrax, Steel Panther, White Zombie. Where did you get the idea to do that?
Well, I've been friends with Scott Ian for a while, and I always enjoyed like bands like Scatterbrain and SOD and that kind of did metal with humor to it. And then, so I knew Scott and I were going to do something at some point, and I just didn't know what the idea or what the concept was, and I didn't want to just do like a cover song and make it goofy, or I wanted to come up with an original thing, and that just came about from watching Headbangers Ball and hating a bunch of the videos at that time and noticing that it was metal by numbers, and I just went to Scott with the idea, and he put the band together, and it was guys that I already knew, like John Tempesta and Joey Bear. I knew from that world, and also from them being like metal heroes of mine, so it was pretty surreal. But and I just did 2 more songs with Scott too.
So you got a follow-up to Metal by Numbers?
Yeah. On my next record, it's called Fart and Wiener Jokes, and I did 2 songs. I did a song called More Metal Than You, and which is just about how whenever you meet, most headbangers that you meet are really cool, but every once in a while you meet a guy who makes it like a contest, like has to challenge you about like who's more metal and who likes the harder bands, and it's kind of just commenting on that.
Have you met anybody like that in the metal world?
Yes, I have.
You name it?
No, I'm not going to name names because the guy's very scary and he could kill me, but he made me jump through hoops. There was a guy, he'd been in another band in the 80s, and now he has a popular band, a different band, and I knew his 80s band, and then he went, no, because I looked like a poser to him or whatever, because I'm not full of piercings and tattoos, and he challenged me. He made me like name 5 songs from his old band, and I did it, like, but it just put me in this place where it's like, dude, you're making me jump through hoops, like metal hoops, like to prove my metalness. It's just such a dick move.
So lyrically, Metal by Numbers calls out the purveyors of false metal for the posers that they are. Would you ever consider going on a world tour poser destroying campaign with like Manowar?
Yeah, and the ghost of Paul Bailoff going around just beating up posers.
So did you play in metal bands growing up?
No, I was never musically talented. Like I picked up the drums, and I couldn't play like Lombardo quick enough, you know, and it just wasn't coming. And so I just bailed. Never really got into it.
So you, in addition to Scott Ian playing on your album, you also directed the Anthrax video, What Doesn't Die, and appeared in that. When Anthrax parted ways with their most recent vocalist, Dan Nelson, were you anxiously waiting by the phone in hopes that you might get the vocalist slot in Anthrax? You seem like the most logical choice.
No way, yeah, because I cannot sing at all. I definitely couldn't do the highs that Joey used to do. So. But no, I just want them to get Bush back.
Yeah, I think they have.
Hoping. We'll see. Yeah.
So what happened with Dan Nelson? Do you know?
I don't know the whole story. I like to believe that Frankie Bello shit on the chest story. Did you ever hear that one?
The pillow? I heard he shit in someone's pillow.
No, I heard that Dan Nelson shit on Frankie while he was asleep, and I prefer that story. But the Frankie I know would have woke up swinging, like, so I know that story never happened.
So you hosted the first annual Revolver Golden Gods Award show. What was that like for you?
It was surreal, like being in the same room as, well, first of all, I got to do like this promo thing with Dio and Vinnie Paul, and Scott did it with me, and so that was already weird. It's just weird being around my heroes. I still haven't gotten used to it, and I hope I never do. Like being in the same room with Dave Mustaine was weird for me. Like just flashing back on how long I've liked that dude, and you know that dude's music. It's just really weird still. And I like if I meet it, I didn't get to meet him thankfully because I probably would have just been a stammering idiot, you know.
So how did you originally get into heavy metal music?
I went in, they're not even a metal band, but it, you know, it was kind of my my straight line in was Kiss. I liked Kiss first, and just kind of was drawn to the theatrical side of hard music, and that, you know, and then I went into AC/DC and all the, you know, cried when Bon Scott died. I was like in 7th grade, and you know, it was that kind of, and then Priest and all the obvious, you know, stepping stones to thrash metal, and you know, I got into all that stuff first.
What metal bands are you currently listening to?
Everything.
Do you have a favorite subgenre, like thrash, power, death, doom?
No, I still love thrash the most. Thrash is still my favorite, just straight up thrash. And I love some of the newer bands like Skeleton Witch and Lazarus AD that aren't like, it felt like a couple of years ago there was like this thrash resurgence, but it was like bands just picking like one, you know, we're gonna sound like the first Possessed record, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and, like with the 1980s Reeboks.
Yeah, and just that one, it was so short-sighted. I like bands like Lazarus AD, and I think Warbringer's getting pretty good too, where they sound like they have their own sound. It's not like we're just gonna write Exodus sounding songs, or you know what I mean? Like they're kind of doing their own thing.
You like
which
German
is what
thrash
is
too?
about. Yeah, I love old German thrash. Creator.
Destruction, Sodom.
Never really got into Sodom. Was there a specific record I missed out on, or?
All the early ones from the 80s are awesome.
I missed out on them. I was around. I remember Destruction and
The Sign of Evil.
Yeah, I bought some of theirs, but I always preferred American.
So if you could
growing up in the Bay Area too was kind of like I was around for all that stuff, so I still love that the most.
If you could put together your dream band of metal musicians, past and present, living and dead, who would they be?
Well, Randy Rhoads would have to be there if I get to pick a dead guy. I don't know, like Randy and Dime would be the cliche thing, but it would be really amazing to see Randy and Dime play together, so that would be part of it. And then who would I put on bass? I don't know, myself, I just stand back there and pretend to be playing bass and watch those guys. And then Lombardo on drums.
So you're a Bay Area guy and you wouldn't put Cliff Burton on bass?
I didn't even yeah, that's the obvious way. Him too, and then I'm watching also.
Who's singing?
No one. They're just jamming for hours.
So what's the status of the Sarah Silverman show?
We just shot a new season, and we'll be back in February. And everybody always says like this year's the best, but it really, we almost didn't come back, and because they were claiming there wasn't any money for it, and then we came back, so we kind of came back with this attitude like, let's just do whatever makes us laugh, and it's kind of crazier. It goes like, it reminds me of Chris Elliott's show, Get a Life, where it just felt like the writers were in the room trying to make themselves laugh, and just like anything goes, so it's a lot of fun.
How much do you have in common with your on-screen character? Obviously, you probably don't want to paste Steve Agee's face on Victoria's Secret models,
right.
But do you like Tab Soda and Dungeons and Dragons and all that shit?
Yeah. The only thing that's not true is the gay thing. I lay down with a beautiful lady that is my wife of 12 years, or 5 years, but we've been together 12 years. That's the only difference between me and that character, because the writers know me, so they've added like beats, like you know, the metal thing sort of came up and a couple of times now, and then they've hit D&D a couple of times, and they know I play video games and all that, and that just sort of came together.
Yeah, you do voiceovers for video games, right?
Yeah, I just did Brutal Legend, the new metal video game.
That's killer.
It was actually from the dude that created it, wrote on the school newspaper with me in high school, and we were like one of the only metalheads at our school, and it's pretty surreal to like work with him 20-something years later.
Wow, that's a trip. So in addition to being a metalhead, you're also a pothead.
Don't think I'm hand in hand.
With so much going on, like comic books, video games, comedy, music, how do you juggle your extracurricular activities, especially when you're traveling?
It's easy because a lot of people, you know, and I have traveled without it. I can live without it, but it's easy to hook up now because so many people know that I do. And you know, I wouldn't call myself a pot comic, but a lot of people that smoke know that I do, if that makes sense. So I get a lot of freebies on the road, and you know.
So being a long-time experienced smoker, I mean, is there ever a time like when you run into some grass that ends up just kicking your ass and you get up on stage and go, man, I am fucking stoned?
No, because I always give myself a couple hours. Like I have a 2 or 3 hour rule. I'm a little flexible, but yeah, no, that never really happens. And most of the time it's swag because I grew up on California, so a lot of times you'll be in a place where it hasn't seen good or ever.
So you're also into zombies. You did the Undead or Alive horror western zombie movie, and then you also did a comic book where Santa Claus is fighting bloodthirsty zombies.
Right, The Last Christmas, yep.
Were you pretty high when you wrote The Last Christmas?
Well, that idea did come about. My friend and I, the guy that I wrote it with, Jerry Duggan, we were playing Halo, and we had just smoked, and we were just batting around ideas of what we wanted to write. We wanted to write a comic, or we wanted to write something together, and he had the idea of doing like a film noir Santa Claus, you know, like an old 40s style, you know, crime drama with Santa Claus with like a pistol, and I went, fuck that. I was like, no, Santa with automatic weapons and he's killing zombies. And I just seen Road Warrior like for the millionth time. I just watched it a couple of days before that, and I was like, we just throw him in Road Warrior. It's post-apocalyptic, and then we have mutants, and there's your Santa Claus movie.
Yeah, fuck yeah. So what do you got coming up next in 2010?
I got the new records coming out in February, the new season's coming out in February, just touring, doing another comic book with Jerry Duggan for Image. It's more of a superhero thing, but kind of our twist on it. Just staying busy and hanging out with my baby. I had a baby, well, my wife had it from her.
Oh, congratulations.
From her part. But yeah, no, it's great. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for taking the time to talk metal, Brian. Thanks for taking the time.
Right on.